Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, I would like to welcome you to the Candidates Forum this evening. We are pleased to give you, the voters, this opportunity to get to know the men and women vying for your vote. Our number one goal is the community engagement of informed voters. We are so thankful that you have joined us this evening. The League of Women Voters is an organization that is nonpartisan and volunteer-based. It is organized at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While the LWV members do study and take stands on issues, we do not endorse nor support political parties nor candidates. The LWV does encourage its members as individuals, as we encourage each of you to get involved in your community and the political party of your choice. However, again, the views expressed in this forum are those of the individuals, candidates, and not those of the League of Women Voters. By sponsoring this forum this evening, the League provides an opportunity for citizen participation and exposure to the candidates, but does not provide an endorsement of any kind. All viable candidates have been invited to participate this evening. Tonight's forum will be for House District 37B and Senate District 37. I would like to introduce to you at this moment Caitlyn, Cahill, and Kristen Robbins, who are the candidates for 37A. With redistricting, House 37 only covers a portion of Maple Grove and now includes Corcoran, Greenfield, Loretto, Medina, Independence, and Maple Plain. You've been busy. They attended a forum on September 12th at Hope Community Church in Corcoran. That forum is available for viewing at lwvwpa.org. Click on the forums link and you will find the recording for that forum on September 12th in its entirety. Caitlyn Cahill's website is CAHILLFORHOUSE.com, so Caitlyn, or Cahill for House. And Kristen Robbins' website is KristenRobbinsMN.com, and she is Kristin, being a Kirsten, I pronounce ROBBINSMN.com. Thank you for coming and saying hello to our audience, and please contact them with your questions for 37A. Thank you. In tonight's forum, the candidates will start with their opening statements in which they have 2 minutes to speak. Then our candidates will have up to 1 minute to respond to each of the questions that are coming from the audience and the ones that came in to us via email. Finally, they will be given 2 minutes for their final statements. Candidates, the League would like to request that you refrain from making any personal attacks on your fellow candidates. I'd like to take this moment to point out our timekeepers for this evening. They will show you when you have 15 seconds to finish your statements, and then show you that your time has expired. Please finish your sentence at that time, as I will be directing the next speaker's turn. The order has been, well, I'm not going to say that part because it's only 2 of you, so we're just going to keep flipping back and forth. Our ushers are handing out cards and pens as needed for your questions. Please raise your hand to receive a card or for our ushers to collect your questions so that I can ask them to the candidates. Please follow these following guidelines set up by our partnership. Number 1, the questions may not be a personal attack on any candidate. Number 2, the questions may not have already been asked, although we might squish a couple similar topics together. And number 3, please write legibly so we can actually ask your question. For the audience, please take this moment to remember to turn off or silence all communication devices at this time, and no unauthorized photography will take place during the forum as it is distracting to the candidates. Remember, CCX is live streaming, broadcasting, and rebroadcasting tonight's forum in its entirety, and copies are available upon request to CCX TV. Again, we have House candidates 37B. Our candidates are Kristin Bonner and John Bristol. John Bristol is unable to be here this evening. And our Senate candidates are Fario Khalif and Warren Limmer, and Mr. Limmer is not here this evening. All right, we're going to start with your 2-minute opener. So we're going to start with Senate candidate Fario Khalif, 2 minutes. Thank you.
Turn the mic on. Mood in, mood out. Good evening. I am Fario Khalif, and I am Fario Khalif, and it's my honor and privilege to be here with you. I'm running for State Senate, District 37. I extend my thank you to League of Women Voters who are helping the voters to, given this educational session, and for all of you who are here tonight. You could have been somewhere else, but you choose to be here to learn what the candidates is about. I thank you so much for your time to be here. I am an immigrant. I left a violent war-torn country when I was a little girl. My mother sent me away to Italy to ask me never come back and go find a better life. And she will die a few months later. When I arrived in Italy, I was raised by a Catholic priest, Don Pasquale. Don Pasquale showed me how to love others, to put smiles on others' faces. And he told me, whatever you might be, whatever you go in life, remember we all are in the human family. For that, from day one, I arrived in Minnesota. I've been doing just that, advocating and volunteering for our communities. I'm a mother, I'm a woman, a mother of two, educated in public schools, and Osseo public schools. As a woman who are immigrant and learning her ways in around these communities, I love my community. I love my community in Maple Grove, Medina, Maple Plain, Corcoran, Loretta, and I just want you to know, as a mother who have raised the two boys, that it's not easy to be an immigrant and to be a woman and also stepping up to work. And I become, thank you. The stop sign says stop.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Kristin Bonner for 37B.
First, thank you to the League of Women Voters for being here, and as well as the voters out here tonight to be curious. So I truly appreciate that. I'm State Representative Kristin Bonner, proudly serving Maple Grove for 4 years. I'm the daughter of a nurse and a mechanical engineer. I'm also an IT consultant and business owner, project manager, and team leader. I've worked in information technology for over 20 years, working collaboratively to get the job done on time and on budget for all of us to achieve our goals. I started my service as a legislator fighting for accessible, affordable health care and prescription drugs. As vice chair of the Human Services Committee, I have focused on mental health and long-term care. I'm a fierce champion for women, children, and families, a strong advocate for free and fair elections, and to make sure that every eligible voter is heard. As Vice Chair of the Legislative Commission on Cybersecurity, I am laser-focused on the securing the critical infrastructure, IT modernization, and data privacy of our state. At the Capitol, I am a tenacious advocate for our community, drawing on my professional experience, working with both parties, getting the job done for you. And I have a track record to prove it. I am Kristin Bonner. I like to put my community first, and I hope to have your vote in November.
Thank you. Our first question that came to us via email: what 2 things have you done in the past 2 years that have the most impact on our community? Our first responder will be Ms. Bonner.
Thank you for the question. You know, it is such an honor to serve the community and to do this work. This past year, I have had the unique opportunity to work with advocates, our domestic violence unit here in the Maple Grove Police Department, as well as our new victims advocate here in Maple Grove on closing some gaps in the domestic violence statute. This is something that is deeply personal for me as a champion for women, children, and families, and it has been a true honor to work through that. That partnership has been so fruitful that we are currently working on additional reforms to domestic violence statute, and I think that we have come to a place where, unfortunately, our system has not always been as friendly as it should be to victims, and we need to make sure that we can regain that and that we are able to keep people in our community safe.
Thank you. Ms. Khalif.
Last 2 years, the whole world got shut down. Racial justice, protests and taken over, and it started at our own backyard here in Minnesota. From day one, May 25th, 2020, I stepped up to partner Minneapolis Police Department and become part of Unity Community Mediation Team, where we make sure that our law enforcement our police community and our community to have build the relationship that they need. Working with the Minneapolis Police Department and other law enforcement around the state of Minnesota, supporting them, making sure building that bridge that where we can have the community understand what's going on. But most important things at that time, last 2 years when things was really hard, and our police officers, I step up to be on the side, making sure building the bridge to support both ways in the community and the law enforcement. As of today, I'm still doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Is it a priority of yours to help seniors in Minnesota by supporting no tax on our Social Security benefits? Please explain. And the person also said thank you. So the first responder will be Ms. Khalif.
Like I said, last 2 years, it's been very, very hard for everyone, especially by our seniors. We need to support them. And the state of Minnesota right now having a surplus of $10 billion. It is time to give what the seniors are looking for, especially giving a lower prescription. Because, look, are you gonna try to have something in your house, keeping the roof of your house, or trying to stay alive where the prescription is really high? So I will say our seniors need our support, not only for this time, but all the time, to making sure as a legislator, whatever that we can do for them, that we can do for our seniors, we should step up to do that. And I will do and willing to work with that as a state legislator. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bonner?
Thank you. Here in Maple Grove, we are very blessed to be the 8th fastest growing city in the state. And we are trending both younger and older, ironically. And I think our seniors are a big part of the vibrancy of our community. I am actually a co-author on the bill that would take away or reduce and remove the taxes on Social Security. So yes, I do in fact support that measure. And I think that we are at a place where we want to make sure that our seniors are able to age in place, to live out those golden years and worry about the things that are important, like taking their grandchildren out for ice cream and spending that time with the people that matter most and not worrying about whether they can keep a roof over their head or pay for prescription drugs. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question. What will you do to protect women's rights and the right to health care? First responder will be Ms. Khalif.
Thank you for that question. Like I said, from day one that I arrived to Minnesota, all I did and still do is advocate for women's rights. Advocacy that I believe that what my mom sent me away to make sure that I do that. Our women are struggling when it comes to especially immigrant women and marginalized women who doesn't have voice in legislation and other areas. I will make sure their rights are protected. As someone who are immigrant founded organization, Voice of East African Women, my whole life, like I said before, is protecting the women, giving them the opportunity where they can call a home for the night or where they can be channeling through for areas that they can be supported for her and her children, making sure women's rights is always our human rights. Thank you.
Ms. Bonner?
Thank you for the question. You know, I have been a lifelong champion for women and for women's rights. I am one of the original organizers from the Women's March of Minnesota. I have been the chief author of adding the Equal Rights Amendment to the Minnesota State Constitution. I'm also a firm believer in removing salary prohibitions, prohibiting the use of previous salary information that is often used to perpetuate wage gaps. And most importantly, in recent history, we have heard an outpouring of folks who are very concerned about reproductive freedom and that feel very firmly, as I do, that the rights of women should be between a woman, her physician, and her family. And I don't believe that government should be playing a role in deciding the health care of individual women.
Thank you. Our next question. What would your top priorities be in the next legislative session? The first responder is Ms. Bonner.
Thank you for that. I think one of the ongoing themes of my work has always been about accessible and affordable health care, prescription drugs, and transparency. In fact, it is my first bill in the Minnesota Legislature, so I will continue to do that work. As a champion of democracy, I also know that we have to make sure that Minnesota retains its position as a leader in voter participation across the state, and that we have free and fair elections, and that every voice is heard. And finally, I do have a great deal of expertise in cybersecurity, including things like infrastructure, IT modernization, and data privacy. And I think that those are issues where I can be a true leader for our state. Thank you.
Ms. Khalif?
I will say health, I have a lot of them, but I will say the couple ones that you want me to talk about. One of them shall be the gun violence. Gun violence is to reduce gun violence, we must see it as a public health issue, a community issue, rather than just an individual freedom issue. I will support extension of data and research on firearm use, implementation of universal background checks, increasing the age of legal purchase up to 21, embracing gun safety technology, banning assault rifles, strengthening protection orders, requiring gun safety courses for first purchases, and expanding community-wide education about the risks of gun owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, let's go over to schools. What should be the legislature's role, if any, in determining school curriculum and what is taught in classrooms throughout the state? First responder again will be Ms. Bonner.
Thank you. Well, I think that we actually have a group of individuals comprised of teachers, educators, parents, and so forth that work diligently to determine the curriculum that it goes into our schools, and I believe that is publicly available for parents so that there is complete transparency. You know, as legislators, I will be upfront, I do not serve on the Education Committee, and I have to believe that teachers and staff and folks who have are doing this work each and every day and working hand in hand with our students are the best equipped to make decisions about what should be in that curriculum and how to best teach our students in a way that engages them, keeps them open and curious and ready to hear a diverse grouping of information historically that allows them to see a really diverse world and make decisions for themselves independently.
Thank you. Ms. Khalif?
For someone who have been parent advisory council for the last 10 years between Minneapolis and Osseo public schools, and I see the struggle that goes through our teachers, educators, and scholars and parents. There's a curriculum that we always discuss and talk about. As a legislator, we shall support our schools, making sure that they get the funding, and fully funded, by the way, to give them programs that they are asking for, curriculum and other issues that they're dealing with, especially when it comes to disability, when it comes to mental health, and other things. But being someone who been on the table for the last 10 years, this is something that I think legislators should take the time to visit those meetings because it's real, where our, especially immigrant parents and parents overall, we should support our educators, scholars, and parents. Thank you.
All right, our next question. What environmental issue or issues is Minnesota not adequately addressing, and what do you propose to help address the issue? First responder will be Ms. Khalif.
Our environment system right now is happening out of state. As you guys can see, the flooding and a lot of things that are happening. Climate change is real. If we don't do something about right now, and we're thinking it's not gonna come to Minnesota, I think that's a mistaken. I think we're watching other part in the country who are struggling, but our environment is more than ever before. We should take the time, making sure our legislators take the time to understand. There's the bills right now in the legislature that did not go through on the climate change and in our environment. And as a legislator, I will make sure I'll negotiate to be in support and making sure that our environment are something that everyone is invested, but without any support and fundings, and it's not gonna happen. So as a legislator, I will be the voice for and making sure that when they come to the legislature, their voice is heard. Thank you.
Ms. Bonner?
Thank you. You know, Minnesota is home to some really unique resources, including the headwaters of the Mississippi River. I personally feel that we need to do everything we can to ensure and protect those headwaters. That is the lifeblood of the Mississippi. It is the lifeblood of Minnesotans and everyone down the Mississippi. And I think we also have looked at a lot of different ways in which we can also make sure that we are having our groundwater tables clear and pure so that we can have good drinking water for citizens for generations to come. And I think that those will be some of the most critical issues, as well as investing in things like cleaner, greener energy that also happens to be cheaper and more efficient, and really making all of those pieces work together in a better economy for all Minnesotans.
Thank you. Next question. How do you think the budget surplus should be used? First responder will be Ms. Bonner.
Thank you. You know, I support strong fiscal responsibility that targets our one-time windfall into a stable, secure, and sustainable budget going forward. The fiscally responsible course, in my opinion, is to secure the present by putting money in reserves for ongoing expenses remaining from COVID or economic downturn. We certainly don't want to go back to taxpayers who are already feeling pinched. It should also provide immediate relief in the form of targeted tax cuts on things like property taxes, small businesses, and child tax credits. And most importantly, it should invest in our future. We have an unprecedented opportunity here to work in spaces like education, to close achievement gaps, catch up on students who have fallen behind, provide needed support for teachers, invest in childcare, transportation, and things like cybersecurity, our infrastructure, and making the systems that work better for citizens. It's the fiscally responsible thing to do.
Ms. Khalif?
Minnesota, and historically, has a $10 billion or more surplus as we speak. It's a time to be helped our communities. Last 2 years has been hard. All the businesses have been closed. And I think having this surplus available, why don't we help our seniors that we talked about earlier? Why don't we give them a tax break? A lot of families, when I'm walking around the community and talking to the community, I'm hearing about how they would like to see and reduce tax and property tax. Our farmers, I'm a farmer, and I know how hard it's out there. Some of those funding shall be supported our farmers who are struggling every day. And not only that, but also our education shall be fully funded. And helping our communities, our small businesses today, just for today, what we have in our state can be supported that. Thank you.
All right, our next question from the audience. If you support healthcare choice for women, do you also support the right to vaccination freedoms? First responder will be Ms. Bonner.
You know, I think these are, certainly I respect the desire of some individuals to choose not to be vaccinated, and that is, of course, their right to do so. Although I do think that there is a bit of a false equivalency in that particular statement, in that, when we talk about something like vaccination, we are talking about early childhood diseases, things like polio, and for example, that have really started to make a resurgence in our communities. And I think that we have to be really careful in how we talk about vaccination and how we talk about it in our communities, how we speak about it with our physicians, and really look at speaking with our physicians about what is the best choice for each individual person. And I just really don't know that those are necessarily equivalent, but I certainly think that folks should be working with their physicians to determine the best path for them.
Ms. Khalif?
I think vaccination is must, and I believe if she wants and the family wants to do vaccination is between her and her doctor and her choice. But I think vaccinating and helping and having a plan with her doctor and not the government making those decisions. So it is very important that families to go through the vaccination. And as a legislator, I'm here to listen. I'm just serving the people. I'm a servant. And whatever that servant, I can give it back to you that I'm listening to you. It's your choice. How can I help you? So vaccination is something that I advocated for years, many communities around the state of Minnesota, making sure children are vaccinated. So I will support. Thank you.
All right, another one from the audience. Maple Grove residents recently got their property valuations. What would you do specifically to offset the impact of property taxes? Ms. Khalif.
That question, property taxes are a lot of families that I've been going around talking to them, like I said earlier, it's one thing that I heard a lot on a campaign trail that families are talking about how they're struggling right now, today. And as a legislator, I will be making sure to continue into the community and inviting them and hear their voices, what that means for them, giving them a tax break on property tax, and something that out of state right now can afford. Like I said, we have a surplus of $10 billion, and I will be for that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. You know, from day one in office, one of the bills that I have actually put forward was a proposal that proposes to cut property taxes and provide specifically refunds for more individuals in the community. It increases the amount of folks eligible for a property tax refund, and it increases the amount of those refunds. I am proud to say that this year that bill did advance to the final tax bill, and it is included in that final tax bill. And I think it really allows those folks who are elders to be able to age in place and enjoy those golden years, and really also help those of us who are those younger families who might be pinched by things like daycare and diapers, or those folks in between who are really struggling to pay for college. I think that the concern in the economy is real, and certainly I appreciate that question, and I hope that we are able to get that property tax bill forward, as it would be the largest property tax cut in the history of Minnesota.
All right, I think, do we have any more coming into the back table there? We're good? We got one more. Okay, let's do this one. It was another emailed question while I get that one. What do you think authentic public service looks like? First responder will be Ms. Khalif.
Authentic public service look like me. Because I've been serving this community from day one I arrived to Minnesota. I volunteered becoming as the president of NAACP, as the vice chair, Unity Community Mediation Team, the vice president of Metropolitan Council of Interfaith Affordable Housing, all of those and many more. I joined them because I cared about our communities when it comes to housing, public health, gun violence, law enforcement, many issues that I advocated. So when you're out there helping the community, it's about the community that we are stepping up, not for me. I'm just a servant. I serve the people. And the people want what they want, they tell me. And I make sure their voice be heard through me. I'm just a messenger. And as a public servant, and I see and I love people coming from one world and in another world, coming in the United States and giving an opportunity that this country world. I am here for you. I want to work for you. Thank you.
Ms. Bonner.
Thank you. You know, being authentic as a public servant is, I think, something that you almost need to have born within you, to have that passion for the community, to want to serve your community. I have talked to thousands of people at their doors and met them where they are. And I can tell you, it is such a joy at the end of the day to be able to speak to them individually, to hear their concerns, to hear what they need most at the legislature, and then to be able to translate that into actual action that really can impact directly the lives and livelihoods of our community. That is such an honor and a privilege to be able to do that. And I am so grateful to be able to do that job every day. I often like to quip that I love my job 99% of the time, and I even like the crabby ones. And I mean that sincerely. I really, really do love serving my community. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, I was reading questions. Did I get both of you on that one, or do I need to get Ms.? Okay, thank you. I'm trying to figure out how many questions we want to do, and I know you have urgent family business to take care of. We have an election integrity question. What will you do to prevent false claims of election fraud from being used as pretext for push for voter ID, et cetera? Ms. Bonner.
Well, I would say first, knowledge is power. For those who are not aware, the Secretary of State actually has a fact and fiction section on their website right at this moment in time that helps dispel some of those rumors. But I think it's also about really being thoughtful in how we seek out reliable sources, that we take the time and trouble to talk to our elected officials, to get real-time information, to have those conversations, and really dig deeper into those. Often I like to say, if it sounds a little bit crazy, it just might be. And so I think we need to be really thoughtful about what we put out into the world on social media and really rely on reliable sources like the Secretary of State for factual information and make sure that we are getting those resources out to folks in the community.
Thank you. Ms. Khalif.
Our vote is our voice. Our voice is our power. And I would say, civic engagement is essential for our democracy to thrive. Voting is one measure of that. Minnesota's voting laws have helped our state have the highest voter turnout in the country. I will work to maintain or implement laws that will allow same-day voter registration, automatic voter registration linked to driver license and medical enrollment, early voting, mail-in voting, no excuse, absentee balloting, no voter ID requirements, and time off from work, so we make it as a holiday when people doesn't have to worry about staying at work, or are they gonna go out to vote? Thank you.
Our next question. What do you say to Maple Grove residents who are dealing with increased crime coming out of Minneapolis and St. Paul? First responder will be Ms. Khalif.
Racial justice is real in our country, especially out of the state of Minnesota. Minnesota racial disparities are due to partial of inequality and inequality laws, policies, and regulations. New legislative initiatives should include an assessment of the impact on equity. I will support development and funding of an equity impact assessment process for major initiatives related to education, health, transportation, economic development, housing, and corrections. I will encourage each state agency to include an equity assessment of its activities, which is biennial budget request. And I think Maple Grove or any city around the state working together to making sure that. Thank you.
Ms. Bonner.
Thank you. We are very fortunate to live in Maple Grove and very blessed to live in a beautiful community. I often talk to Chief Warner, and one of the things that he says often is that he wishes he could do a PSA to have Maple Grove residents be just a little bit less trusting, right? Making sure that we close the garage door, that we lock our car doors at night, because we are so fortunate to be able to live in a beautiful and rich community. That said, in the last few months, we have had a number of initiatives, including the governor asking the BCA, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, to work hand in hand with the state troopers to combat crimes, to do additional enforcement with over 1,500 stops, over 300 arrests. We have the Sheriff's Department out doing additional enforcement as well within our communities, and a concerted effort of local PDs and groups helping both Minneapolis and St. Paul to also get a handle on what is coming for them.
All right. Next audience question. The Minnesota House voted 16 times to allow Governor Walz to have unfettered emergency power. Is the one-party rule good for democracy? First responder will be Ms. Bonner.
I think in the last couple of years, we had really difficult challenges and really difficult decisions to make. As a legislature, as a state, in the midst of an unprecedented epidemic that is literally a once-in-a-lifetime event. On average, believe the saying is that that comes around about once every 100 years. And I think that we had done our best to look at the science, to look at the information that was available at any given time, and to really use that information to make informed decisions to the best of our ability about how to keep Minnesotans safe and how to do what's best for our citizens.
Ms. Khalif?
The last couple of years, everyone saw what was happening, all these special sessions coming in and out about, but you know, sometime when we are running the campaign trail and talking to our communities, making sure that they are heard, their voices. It's not about us. To making sure that it's not about Republican, it's not about Democrat, it's about the people. And if we cannot do the work as been sent us to do, and then we are fighting each other, and we're not passing bills like right now, like the state of Minnesota have $9 to $10 billion surplus, and some of the legislators did not want to deal with and negotiate and just walk away from the table. That's not right. What is the one government? What does that look like for us? It's something to talk about. It's really something to talk about. It's about our communities. It's about the people. You are the one who put in us to go to work for you. And we have to come back to tell and ask the question, what do you want for us to do over there? If we point finger to the governor or this person or that person and this special session, somebody refuse to do negotiation, we're not going to go anywhere. We need to come to the table and negotiate and make it happen for the people. Thank you.
Our next question. Many polls show 75% of Americans believe in term limits for federally elected officials. The process to implement term limits begins at the state legislature. Would you support the process to implement term limits, again, for federal elected officials? First responder will be Ms. Bonner.
You know, I will be candid. I have not done a great deal of research on federal term limits, so I could not speak to that intelligently, nor would I suggest that I have the answer to that question. I think it's something that I would want to look at. It's something I would certainly want to study and to do some homework before I made any decisions either for or against that particular issue.
Ms. Khalif?
When I'm knocking doors every day, talking to the voters, some of the question I've been asked is exactly what you just asked. People are stressed out and frustrated, this lifelong, and my answer is simple. If that's what the people want, that's what the people are going to get. If somebody has to make a decision for the rest of their life, but why don't we have a term? But I don't like, I'm not going to say like Kristen said, because we're not supposed to say that. It's some more research that we have to do. We need to find out more and find out what does that mean. But be honest with you, is that something that you guys want? Please let me know. I'm here for you. I work for you. Thank you.
Okay, our last audience question, that'll still be the 1 minute before our final statements. Do you support zoning changes at the state level to ensure that cities must build low-income housing throughout Maple Grove neighborhoods? Ms. Khalif.
Zoning changes just because of the humanity, what we look like, and our income and all of that. I think we shall work together and figure it as ways how can we all become part of our communities. And especially if you're looking at it, it's the city of Maple Grove is growing. For the last 10 years, look what happened. Of almost 25 to 30% is becoming a diversity. So there's nothing wrong with that. We can all share in a space and work together. And I will probably support for us to, if the question is directly is for or against, I'm not sure exactly what was the question on the last.
Would you support legislation to, do you support zoning changes so that we can get more affordable housing for people in Maple Grove? So.
Yes.
Ms. Bonner?
Thank you. You know, I think this is a really perplexing question in how we get more affordable housing and get a better mix of housing that really meets people where they are. And we have gone back and forth on how best to do that for many, many years and looked at that. I know, for example, here in Maple Grove, we have one of our city council members, Karen Yeager, who is very passionate about the issue of affordable housing and removing the stigma from affordable housing is very important to her. Having that integrated in with the rest of the community has always been a continual concern for her. And I think I share some of that with her, wanting to be able to have that integrated approach to allow us to have a better mix of housing and really address the needs of our community going forward.
Thank you. We'll be moving on to our final statements in which you have 2 minutes to speak. We'll start with the House, and remember that John Bristol was unable to be here this evening, but you can find his information on vote411.org or also the Secretary of State website. If you do What Does My Ballot Look Like, you can find a link to his website. So for 37B, Kristin Bonner, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, I am Kristin Bonner, and it has been an honor to serve as your state representative for the last 4 years. To do this work, working for you, has been a passion, and it has been my privilege. I love my thriving Maple Grove community, and I love serving Minnesota. Even when we have our differences, we have always found common ground. Over half of my bills made it to the finish line this year, with support in both chambers and both parties. I am living proof that bipartisan work is possible if we work at it. Our legislature should do the same. I am Kristin Bonner. I am a tenacious advocate for our community. I ask for your vote in November so that I can go back to work for you. And I would like to make one brief personal statement. At this time, my grandmother is in hospice and we are not sure if she will make it through the night. So I really appreciate the time and care that folks took to be here tonight, to be curious. And in speaking with my family, I am here tonight because it is very important to my grandmother that I be here to do what I love best, and that is engaging and serving my community. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the Senate District 37, Mr. Limmer was unable to be here. Again, you can find links to his website on either the Secretary of State website or vote411.org, and you can contact him directly with your questions. So our other candidate here, you have 2 minutes, Ms. Fario Khalif.
Thank you. My life's work has been to amplify the voices of people who are often marginalized and ignored, particularly women and children, immigrants, and people of color. I am particularly interested in raising the voices of people in Senate District 37, which is diverse in unique ways. It is rural and suburban, racially diverse, and embraces people from multiple religion backgrounds. For that to occur, people need to feel safe in their communities, have stable and secure housing, and have access to good education and affordable health care. That is why my priorities will be to improve our education system for all Minnesotan pre-K through college, improve our healthcare system, transportation, environment, advance housing policies that assure safe and secure housing for everyone, no matter if you're a renter or homeowner, and support public safety initiative, support our law enforcement that include prevention mental health programs and community-oriented policing. All this work will be done with focus on equity, so all Minnesotans feel like valuable members of our community and have the opportunity to thrive. I am Fario Khalif, and I am grateful and honored to be here. And thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. Please know that it's okay to have a change. And November 8th is not that far. Please go to farhiokhalif.com and support and vote for me, because I want to work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank 37A, Caitlyn, Cahill, and Kristen Robbins for joining us today and saying hello to the people that showed up in our audience. And I'm going to say again, it was Cahill, 2 L's, cahillforhouse.com, and KristenRobbinsMN.com to go right to their websites, and you can contact them to get some more direct questions for them answered.
Good.
Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters, Brooklyn Park, Osseo, and Maple Grove, I would like to thank the candidates for agreeing to participate in tonight's forum. I would like to thank the voters for attending and participating by submitting excellent questions, and I would like to thank the viewing audience as well. Remember that if we could not get to your questions tonight, or you have further questions for the candidates, we invite you to contact them directly with your concerns. Candidate information will also be available on vote411.org. Please remember to get out and vote November 8th, as your vote truly counts. Thank you, and have a great evening.